Have you been recently laid off or have you been recently terminated? Are you struggling with this transition? Then this video is for you. Today, we're going to talk about strategies that you can employ post termination or post layoff to help you with this transition. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Akila and I'm a certified career coach. The mission for my channel is to help others uncover a more fulfilling career path and to take practical steps to help you to achieve this path. If this type of content is something that you're interested in, feel free to subscribe, like, and share. Let's get into today's topic. In the past 5 years, there has been a lot of layoffs due to post-COVID issues. I've worked with a lot of clients who've been laid off, and one of their number one challenge that they have faced is how to deal with the aftermath of being laid off or being terminated, how to deal with the loss of income, how to deal with the anxiety, the uncertainty that comes with a layoff. Luckily for them, they were paired with me as a career coach, so they actually had someone to guide them through that transition. But that's not everyone's situation. And for persons who don't have access to a coach, I actually want to give you some practical strategies that you can actually employ to help you through this transition. One of the first things that I want to suggest, the first strategy I want to suggest is after you have been terminated, the first 2 or 3 days, you want to take a moment to reflect and think about what has just happened and put it into context. You want to be able to think about why you were let go. What could you have done differently? Was it due to your performance? Was it due to financial issues that the company was having? And you want to essentially process and put into context what has happened with your termination. This is important because if you don't take a moment to process it and put it into context and deal with the immediate emotions that come with it, this could spill over into your job search. So, for example, I had a client who was with a company for a number of years. She was considered a top performer and she was terminated, and she could not reconcile why she was terminated. So, during one of our coaching sessions, we were actually prepping for an interview, and I asked her the question, why was she looking for another role? And of course, she had to address why she was terminated. And in that session, she actually broke down crying because in her mind, she was so upset about being terminated. And she hadn't taken that time to really process and put into context why she was terminated. I was able to help her to understand that in particular, her company in particular has been laying people off for a number of years. And even though she is, I guess, the latest victim of being laid off, it's not due to her performance. One of the things that we need to understand is this: when a company is looking to cut costs, one of the first places they're going to do that is by cutting human resources. So a large percentage of the time when someone is terminated and or laid off, it is due to financial reasons. Sometimes companies may spin it to make it seem as if it's related to your performance, but really and truly, they really needed to terminate you in order to save costs. So it is important to kind of take a moment, breathe, put everything that has happened into context so that you can process it and so that you can set yourself up mentally to step into what your next steps are going to be. Now, a part of this reflection that you're going to be doing the first couple of days, you also want to be thinking about what were some of the things that you liked about your company or liked about working at your company, and what were some of the things that you disliked. And this will help you to set you up for choosing another company that is more aligned with your values and what you're looking for. And what I mean by that is if you understand what you didn't like, then when you are interviewing with companies, you can assess them to see whether or not they display characteristics that you did not like in your previous company. And the same thing goes for things that you like. So essentially, you can set a baseline for what you want more of and what you want less of. And again, this is important for when you decide to go back into the job market and actually find a new role. Okay. Now, the second strategy that I would love for you to consider employing is connecting with other people in your company that has also been laid off along with yourself. I actually worked with a group of people who were laid off. They were all coming from the same company. And what I found that they did that I thought was phenomenal was they actually formed a WhatsApp group and they essentially supported each other through the transition. They gave each other LinkedIn recommendations. They endorsed each other. They suggested each other for various different roles because they weren't all competing for the same role. There were different roles that were terminated. So they would actually, if they went into or they spoke with a company, they would look out for roles that would probably match with the skill sets of some of their other colleagues that were laid off. So they essentially formed a group and supported each other through the process of being terminated and essentially through the process of finding a new role. I thought that was phenomenal. So whereas we do have our family and friends to support us, right? There is nothing quite like finding support with people who are going through exactly what you're currently going through. So I thought that was excellent. And as a result of that, I actually encourage my other clients to do the same. The third thing that I want you to consider is making a plan. You want to make a clear plan of action for what your next steps are going to be. One of the biggest challenges that a lot of people face post termination is the anxiety that comes with loss of income. And that anxiety pushes us to go jump right back into the job market and start looking for jobs. And that's not a bad thing. However, a lot of that anxiety can be managed if we took a moment to assess our finances. So let's go assess our finances, look at, how much savings we have, look at how much severance we got, look at what or unemployment or employment insurance looks like, do the math and actually calculate how many months you can actually survive based on your specific circumstances without having a job. That will significantly help to reduce the anxiety because you may do the math and realize that you could survive 6 months without a job, right? And if that is the case, then it means that it kind of gives you a little bit of room to either take a break or you could jump back into the job market, but it gives you room to play with. So you don't have to take the first job that comes to you. You can actually take steps to set yourself up for success and to choose a role that is more aligned with you. Okay. So looking at your finances is very important. You also want to be looking at, based on your finances, based on your ability to survive without having a role, you can also decide whether or not you want to jump into the job market immediately or you want to take a break. Okay. So we don't normalize this enough. We don't normalize taking breaks. I think we are naturally programmed, and because we need to pay our bills, we are naturally programmed to work, 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 and take 2-week vacations. But we don't normalize taking breaks in between roles. So if you've done your finances and you recognize that, hey, I can survive 6 months without taking a job, maybe a part of your plan might be, hey, I'm going to take 2 months off, relax, and then the last 4 months I'm going to look for a job. Okay. Now, let's say, for example, you realize that you need to get back into the job market immediately because you need to pay your bills and you don't have a lot of wiggle room in terms of disposable cash. That's totally fine. One of the things that I want to encourage you to do, however, is to figure out take some time to think about and figure out whether or not you are in the right career. Let that sink in. A lot of people are doing jobs that do not make them happy or fulfill them in any way, or and it just leads to burnout. So I would encourage you to take some time to really think through, am I in the right career? Now, if you decide that you're not in the right career, it doesn't mean that you're automatically going to sit around and wait to get into the right career. You may still need to take a job, but this is just a really good time for you to sit down and plan your professional future. I always tell my clients that sometimes a layoff or a termination can be a blessing in disguise, because it gives you a moment away from the hustle and bustle and the 9 to 5 to really refocus and rethink what your professional life should look like. So this is a really good time to dive into, what should my profession be if you're currently not happy. I actually have a video on that, and I will link it in in the description so that you can watch it. It will help you to navigate figuring out where you should be taking your career. It's called Career Identity. I will link it in the description. Now, if you are very clear on the role you want and you know that you want to jump right back into the job market, what I would also encourage you to take a look at, or to decide on, is what your job search strategy is going to be. I also have a video on this, and I'm going to link it in the description. 10 strategies for an effective job search. I will link that as well. You can watch that, and that will kind of help you to plan for your job search. Okay. Now, the final strategy that I'm going to encourage you to employ, it's not mandatory, but I would strongly suggest that you think about doing this, is if you've been recently terminated, especially if you haven't been in the job market in the last 5 years. Let's say you've been in a role for 10 years and the last time you interviewed for a role was in 2015. You may need to think about hiring a career coach, somebody who is a professional and can guide you through the transition and the nuance within the job market. The job market has changed significantly with the introduction of using AI and ATS tools, and even having to make sure that your LinkedIn is optimized. When applying for roles on LinkedIn, there are a lot of nuances in the job market. So I would strongly encourage you, if you are in a position to hire a career coach to help you through this transition. Okay, so let's summarize. There are 4 things that I would suggest that you do post being terminated. The first thing is take a break, breathe, reflect. The second thing is try to connect with other persons who've also been laid off to get support from your peers. The third thing is make a plan. And the fourth thing is, if possible, hire a career coach to help you through this transition. This brings me to the end of the video. If this content was valuable for you, please feel free to share and subscribe, and come back every week for your weekly career strategies. Thank you.